really wish music wasn't height dependent. I don't really get any of the normal gameplay music building up here. Kind of annoying. Anyway, another day, another useful mechanic. Up, down. Pretty nifty, isn't it? Not just that one. Don't pick it up. No, there we go. And we'll go right over here. What about over there? There we go. So, if you can guess, the mechanic I've built is warping. And essentially the way it works is I've predetermined 6 different armor stands, each with a set of equipment, and that's the target of our commands. So all we're doing is detecting, like usual, if an item's on the ground, that's the basis of the majority of mechanics we use, and if it is, we get to teleport to it. And get stuck in it sometimes, because this one's in slabs. You'll also notice this little block. So it's a barrier block. That's sort of what we're using as a marker, because the other big thing that really makes this a useful mechanic is it's actually loading the chunk the armor stand is in. So not only are they fast travel points, would probably be the equivalent, but they're also chunk loaders, which is something you generally have to use mods for in-game, unless you want to run, obviously, creative and commands. You know, like Forge, Feed the Beast, Industrial Craft, I think it might be. Where you can actually build chunk loaders so that your machines can operate regardless, and these will essentially accomplish that. So the way they work is first they check if there's an armor stand, and if so, they build this little barrier block. So if you'll see 36 comes back, because again it's on that 3-second cycle, and then it detects if there's an armor stand inside a barrier block, and if so, it will load the chunk. So it's pretty nifty, and it also means we can go anywhere in the world, or put them anywhere in the world, and safely teleport to them without having to worry about whether or not they're loaded. So it will definitely be really useful multiplayer. It's a quick way to travel around to different people, or even single player if you want to spread out your base, because that's one of the biggest hassles, for me at least, is always picking which biome to build in. I'd rather spread things out. There's no great way to cover long distances unless you obviously build the infrastructure, and these are a much simpler way. I do like the idea of limiting it to the armor. So for instance, leather's the easiest to acquire, then iron, gold, diamond, netherite, and chain. I'm pretty sure you get from drops or trading. So I think that's the hardest or near netherite. So essentially there is a tier system. If you want 6 places to warp to, you need 1 set of each. But anyway, that's pretty much it for the mechanic. So we'll hop into the command blocks. It's probably going to be a shorter one, this one. So we've got it separated into 2 different features or functions. So the first 4 command blocks are what handling the item detection, item deletion. So obviously we don't want things to come back. Ooh. And the teleportation. The other nifty thing, although I've got these items here, be pretty costly to have to use netherite, for instance, every time you want to teleport. So this basis of the system is whatever one you're teleporting to. So say leather, you want an L, and then all you're doing is return. The L return takes you straight to the leather. And if you change that L to a G or a D or an I, then obviously it will go to the corresponding one. So for instance, I for iron, you drop it on the ground. Here we are. Probably quicker. Oh, in par. So yeah, so onto the commands. So if these we've already built, so don't worry about this tower. It's just these 3 sections. So if we put these 4 in chat, not as long as what we've been going through, so it's not too bad. In fact, it doesn't even fill the whole box. So each of these command sets is obviously 1. So we'll start this top. So we've got execute at. Again, we've been over this lots of times. It's almost in every video. We're detecting an item. this case with the tag and return. So this is for netherite. And if it finds that item in the world, it's going to add a tag to the closest player. In this case, and return, just a way to differentiate between the 6 different teleports. The next step is to find the armor stand. So it's looking for an armor stand with a complete set of armor, but more importantly, what I've done is, again, you have to name stuff. So anvil is really jumping up in importance in my version. That's not what we wanted. We wanted that. So yeah, so all the armor is called return. You actually see this should get deleted. Yeah, so it does get deleted. So this chunk's unloaded now that the armor set's incomplete. If we put it back, the barrier block comes back, so you know it's loaded. But yeah, so we're detecting for that armor stand with all the pieces have to be named return. So helmet, chest plate, legs, and boots. Then it's going to run the teleport. So at everyone who has that tag and return. So the @p limits it to one person, the closest person. And then this makes sure that they are the ones that teleport to the armor stand. And then we just have the cleanup command, which is to delete the item on the ground, so the end return block, and then of course to remove the tag from the player. So it's a fairly simple one this time, and you could make it a lot simpler. You could just make this into any block. You could still stick with the name function. So if you took, say, a stone block, for instance, named it an anvil, and then had it detect the block. So if you do execute at, I don't know, can we do it in, oh you can. So execute at, oh no, execute, I think you gotta do as, no. We not do, okay. It is only in a command block. So if we grab a command block, I can show it off. Go down to execute at, where's the entity tag? If. Okay, so you can do if as, okay, so it does have to be an entity, unfortunately. That's why I've gone with armor stands thing about it, but you could do item frames, you could have a mob, a villager, you name, chain up, and anyway, long story short, it is very workable to alternate what you're actually detecting. So you just need an entity. So you're executing at the entity and then teleporting to the entity is the general gist of the command. The second portion is, of course, the chunk loading feature. So that's important because, again, if it's out in the world, say my base is not in 0, that's generally loaded, but out in the world, and I want to get back there quickly, well, that chunk needs to be loaded. Otherwise, the entities won't function. You won't be able to teleport to the entity because it's not obviously loaded in the game. So 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, so it should be from here. Should be enough between by now. So this one is a bit longer, but it's mainly because of the armor stand and how it's got the boots, legs, chestplate, helmet, and the display name. So all we're doing is, again, we're searching for that armor stand, so execute at armor stand with all the features, and we're running set block. So that's why it's placing the barrier at the bottom of the armor stand, so on its position, which is those little squiggles, and I have it set to replace. So any block there will be replaced. I might need to change that to keep, but then it might get a bit messy. So I don't think there's a way, if you use a piston and push an armor stand into a block, then obviously you have a automated block deleter, so to speak. The bedrock and stuff like that, I think you can push an armor stand there. But yeah, so it's placing the barrier block at the bottom, and then it's detecting if there's an armor stand. So again, execute at the armor stand. If is the change. So we're detecting if there's a block with the armor stand, so the barrier block, in which case it's going to force load the chunk. The second portion is sort of the inverse. So we're executing at any armor stand unless it fits the description of our armor stands. So it needs to have all those items. Essentially what this does is differentiates between a completed armor stand and a partial or empty armor stand, and it will delete any barrier blocks. Well, sorry, first it will run force load and then delete any barrier blocks. I think the easiest way to clean this up would be to set replace and then set the specific block. So have it air and barriers. But other than that, it's a very, very simple command set. Again, it'll be in the description. Ask any questions. Shorter one this time around. Very simple feature. I'm very pleased with. And we're sort of reaching the end almost. Probably 3, 4, 5 maybe different things I still have to implement, and then we're good to go. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. See ya.